Okay, that there. And recent projects. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open. This is not a finished final project by any means, but it's got some things that we need to talk about first, right there. First thing is that, and I might as well just kind of go through this here. There's some serious hints. As you recall, I gave you a link to a website on using random numbers, right there. And when you open, first off, I'm going to close this project and start a new project, but I'm going to cut and paste everything here. That way I don't have to retype it here. Copy. Right there. Let me project closed. Close. Let's do a new project. Let's just close everything out and start over again. Right there. That's the easiest way to do it. All right. This should look something similar to what you bring up Visual Studio, right? Now, Visual Studio, here, we're going to hit a new project, and the type of project that you need to create, and I figure it'd be easier to do this from the beginning versus that there, is we're doing what's called a console project right there. And as I said, the screen resolution is somewhat, doesn't let me show much of my screen, but as you look at my templates on the left-hand side, we have a bunch depending on what version of Visual Studio you have and what options are installed. I have the full Visual Studio. I think I got version 2013. And what version do you have here on these computers? Anybody remember? It's probably 2010 or 2013. That's there, because they don't put it out every year. But this is Visual Studio 2013, and the version that we're going to use is called a Win32 console app. Is what we're going to be doing right there, and that is the one that lets you do text-based programs. Right there. So it's a little bit different. If you do store apps or ones that you can set there, if you use a standard Visual Studio blank app, universal apps, those are Windows-based apps, and we're not going to be bothering creating Windows and user interfaces. And I'm at a huge disadvantage. I don't know what was covered in your C course, but I'm just using standard console-based C for this project. Right there. So it's a console application, which means that we use standards printfs and scanfs. Actually, the scanfs you can't use. It's a scanf_s. But I'll talk a little bit about that there. So I'm going to kind of go through this there, and I'm going to call this FN project right there, and UniKL1, something like that. I'm just going to give it a name like that. Okay. That there. Finish to accept the current. You can go through. There's some settings here, and you can set it to a Windows application, a DLL static library. We're going to use a console application, which means that a text window will pop up that runs our program, and that creates some problems I'll talk about here in a second, right there. We're going to go ahead and let it take the default apps or options of the precompiled header and security development, like cycle checks. That's fine. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit finish right there. And when that comes up right here, what you see is something like this right here. It's going to create a main that's empty, and it does absolutely nothing there. And if I run this, you'll see a window pop up and disappear. Right there. Well, it pops up and does absolutely nothing right there. So, right there. And we could put something in here. Right there. Printf. This is program test 1, right there. We do a backslash n for new line, and of course we need to put a semicolon at the end of my line, and we run this, and it should, and notice what it did do is it popped up and disappeared. That there, and that's a problem with the console apps, and the way you get around that is you put a scanf at the end of your program, right there. So if you do a scanf, and it's a scanf underscore, scanf underscore s, right there, and you got to put a space, a character C, and pass it the address of dummy. We got declare dummy right there, and char dummy right there. And what this allows me to do right there is that when I run this, it allows me to hit any key and enter, and it just freezes the program right there. And unfortunately, it's a bug in Visual Studio that when you run the console app, it runs the program and ends right there at that point, right there. So it's just one of those quirks that you have to stick at the end of that there. Now let me kind of go through what you need for your program. But this is how you start your project. And someone tell me, is this what you did before, or did you do something different? You don't remember. It's been a few weeks up there. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to paste everything that I put in before and talk a little bit about your final project right there. So this is somewhat complete, but I'll go through some of the functions that you need for your final project. First off, if you're going to do anything, I don't know if this using name is required here. Let me delete that and see if I was testing various things. I think it'll still, yeah, right there. Okay. So this is similar to what you would run at this point here. Okay, let me kind of go through some functions that I wrote here. First off, I declared an array. It's a two-dimensional array that's char, and I put all the states' names in there. And that's the way that you have to do it with this version of C. Some versions of C you can declare an array of strings. This particular version of C doesn't like strings. It expects to see a double subscripted array that there. So there's 13 state names, each of which can be up to 20 characters long, right there. And then I initialize them all with the names of the states, right there. I have another array which is 13 long, which has all the states that have been collected, right there. Every time I buy a cup, it's going to, right there, and I initialize that array to 0, right there, so that I haven't bought any cups. I have a few other array functions that have to be created. Again, this is pretty much a completed project, so yeah, unfortunately I'm recording this, otherwise everyone will be taking frantic notes out there. But these are all the functions we need to run this project right here. So let me kind of go through some of the functions that are required. Check cups is a very simple function. All it does is go through and see whether we bought all of our cups. Right there. So it goes from 0 to 12 and looks at each element of the array. If any of them is equal to 0, it returns 0. Otherwise, it returns a 1. We've bought all of our cups. We've gone through that entire array right there. We have another array that clears our cups, which simply sets all of our cups equal to 0. It does the same thing as this line right here, right there. So every time we do a run, we have to clear out all of our cups. There. By a meal, all it does is returns a random variable between 0 and 12, right there. And And when I buy a meal, all I'm doing is getting a random cup, right? And it could be 1 of 13. Now I'm going to go through and I'm going to put some stops in here, and I'm going to block out some code here, right here. And I think it's right here. I'm going to block out a bunch of code here. Right there. I don't want you to see it right there. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to buy a cup. The first one is just simply, buy a meal right there. So I'm going to just simply put a statement in here, printf, you've received the percent string right there, cup this time, right there. And we'll put a right there. And we're going to print out their, what did I call it, state name, state names. Bracket. And what did I call this here? State. State. Right there. And hopefully I didn't generate an error. So what I'm going to do here is I've initialized my array with all the states, right? State names. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to buy one meal right there. And when I buy one meal, it's going to receive a random number between 0 and 12. And I'm going to say what state I bought right there. Hopefully I didn't generate any errors. And what error did I have? That there, I generated an error. Clear cups. And I probably, in my commenting right there, oh, right there, I commented the end of my string, or my loop there. Okay. So this particular time I bought Malacca, right there. Right there. I run it again. Hopefully I get another cup, right there. This time I got Johor. So you can see what's going on as I'm running this program. I can go ahead and put my loop in here, and I can keep doing this time and time again. Right here. And let me right there. And you can see I went through 1,000 times and bought 1,000 cups. Right there. And you can see they're different every time right there. Right there. So I put that in the loop, and I bought a bunch of cups right there. So that's how we buy a cup. That there. I know when I first gave this assignment, everyone had that look on their face. How do you do this? And it's easier than you thought, right? It's fairly straightforward in how we buy our cups. Now let's go through here and let's test for one cup right there. So let's go through. And I'm actually going through and doing the project step by step here with you. But I showed you how to do part A, right? That's part A. How do I buy a single cup? Right there. I don't know if I got the project on here or not, but that's another file. Open recent. Okay, this looks like your final project right there. Let's look at the project right here. This is a mini project. So, part A, simulate buying one purchase in what state that there. So I did part A there, right? So I did part A. Actually, I did it 1,000 times because I put it in a loop there. But I bought one cup, one meal, and told it what state they received. So that's how that is done. The second part, you're to simulate how many cups you need to purchase in order to get one for your home state. That there. So let's go through here and again, that there. And let's go through here, and I'm going to just write this. I'm going to go ahead and comment out this loop here, right there. No. Yeah, let's just comment out the loop here. Because we don't want to do this 1,000 times. Let me make sure that I only commented out the loop. Right there. Okay. So now I bought Malacca that time. So now I'm going to put another loop in here, and right there. And I'm going to say, at this particular point, the first place I lived when I moved to Malaysia was Johor, okay? So I'm going to use Johor as my example right there. You know, the very first time I ever came to Malaysia, I taught at it's now UTHM for a year. So I lived in Keelong, so that's in Johor, so that's my home state. So I'm going to say that my home state is right there. So I'm going to say home state is equal to 0 right there. And that needs to be defined as an int. So that's now a new variable. It's my home state is 0. So I want to just see how many cups it's going to take me before I reach my home state right there. So I'm going to just go through here and ignore all this code here. I'm going to just write new code right here. And I'm going to buy one state right here. State collected is equal to 1 right there. I bought one state right there. So I'm going to write the loop that it's going to keep track of how many cups it takes me before I reach Johor. So while state not equal to home state right there. Now if it's open to, if the first one I receive is 1, we've already got I is equal to 1. That there, we've set that there. It's on our first cup. But we're going to keep track of how many of what it takes us to get there. So while that's there, we're going to go ahead and we're going to increment I right there. We're going to go ahead and say state is equal to buy meal. We're going to buy another meal, get another state, and we're going to go ahead and print F you received I'm just copying the same thing, cup this time, right there. Right here. I could actually state names, bracket, state. Right there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to keep buying states until we're done, right? Until it's equal to Johor, right? And I'm going to do a printf. It took %i. See if I can find my percent key. Tries until you received %s. There. And up there. I and state names home state. Right there. And hopefully I didn't put any errors in there. So let me go through what I just typed right there. What I did right here. So the first thing I did is that I'm going to go through here and I'm going to buy a state. We talked about that before. I'm going to print down what state we received right there. We received right there. We're going to keep track of, this line here is not needed right now. I'm going to go ahead and comment it out because we're not keeping track of which cups we bought yet. We're just buying cups until we receive Joe Hoare right there. And then we go into this loop right here where we just keep buying cups until we receive till our cup equals 0, which is Joe Hoare. So if I didn't screw up, which I do most times, right there. So it took me 16 cups before I reached Joe Hoare this time. The first cup I bought was Selangor, Perak, Penang, Pahang, Malacca. I went through and it took me 16 cups before I reached Joe Hoare. Right there. I run this again. It took 38 times that time. not much luck there, right? Run it again. This time it only took 2 times. So you can see that it's somewhat of a random pattern how many cups I have to receive till I hit Joe Hoare right there. So now what I want to do is keep track of how many times it takes me to, on average, to get to Joe Hoare. That there. So as we look at the assignment right there, which is where everybody's at right here, you're simulating how many cups you must purchase to get one for your home state. Right there. And then you're supposed to run the simulation for 10,000. It's supposed to be 10, 100, 1,000 times right there. But we'll go through that right there. So I'm actually going through this final project pretty much step by step. That there. Someone said it should take 2 weeks to do this. I actually did this in about an hour. That there. It took me about an hour. And the reason it took an hour, to be honest with you, is that it took me several times to figure out which one of these I had to include. You have to include all 4 of these, otherwise it doesn't work right there. This one is that there. This is standard. If I exclude one of these, any of these right here, it's gonna. Oh, that one I guess is not needed. One of these, I guess standard HO is a standard library is needed. Yeah, that one's the one that's needed. I kept trying different ones till I found ones that were needed. That there, and standard time, as I recall, is needed. Right there. So, right there. That time it took 13. Right there. So it took a little bit of time to figure out that I needed to include the C standard library, and the C time is mentioned in that there, but the C standard library is required for the random number generator. Right there. So I had to figure out that this was another try that I made. So it took a little bit of time to figure out the proper includes to get this working. And of course, Microsoft's has anybody tried to use a Microsoft's help utility? Isn't that thing about worthless? That there, if anybody's ever tried using it, it's written by programmers for professional programmers, and it's completely worthless. That there. So it was a little trial and error. So okay. That there. Now what we want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put my loop back in. Right there. And I'm going to do this 10 times right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put my loop back in right here. Right there. And right here. And that there. Now I'm going to leave this out here. Yeah, let me go ahead and right there. Actually, what I ought to do, well, ignore the green code that there. What we're going to simply do at this particular point right here is within this loop right here, we're going to just simply keep track of, and we're going to keep track of how many times. At the end of this loop, I is equal to 1 right here. Let's pull that out. Let's not keep track of I is equal to 1. Well, actually, we can. We can leave it there. But we've got this variable up here called total. So let's just go ahead and say total plus equal I. All that's going to do is add the total I each time we go through this loop. So when we finish this complete loop right here, all 20, right there. As we finish this loop here, and I don't really want to delete this because I want to come back to it, but all right, you know what? Let me cut this, copy it. I'm going to copy. We'll delete it up here. I want to stick it up here, right there. That way, this stuff here at the end we can ignore. Okay. All right. What we've done here is total is equal to this. This is our loop right here. Our loop. Yeah, okay. Okay. We're missing a. Oh, yep. Actually, we're missing the final one right here. Okay. All right. That's the final one's at the end. Okay, this is still within. This is. Keeping our loop straight is always a pain. Right there. This is the end. So this is the end of our loop right here. So it gets cold there. So at this point right here, let's just do a printf. Printf the total number of cups bought is %i in comma total. Right there. Let's see what happens this here. I may have very well broken. All right, it took me 75 cups to buy, or right there. So as I go through and I look at this, I see all 10 runs. I'm going to go ahead and put some stops in here up there. But what I want to do here is let's do this 3 times. That way we can see what's happening here. Give me a second here. Right there. So let me run this right here. And what we're going to see here is, as we look at this here, this right here, the first time it took me 16 cups. Does everyone see where I got the 16 cups from? I did this 3 times. The first time it took me 16 cups. The next time it took me 5 cups. And then the last time it took me 6 cups. So it took 27 cups to find Joe Hoare 3 times, right there. No, we're leading up to this here. Now, we know that this works, so there's no point in printing off each cup each time, right? We proved that we're getting a random cup every time. So I'm going to comment out that print statement so that we can do this a number of times right there. So, and I'm going to declare another variable right here, int number of tries. And we're going to set that equal to 10 right now. And we're going to then use that right here. Right there as our variable right here. And then we're going to down here put another printf the average number of cups needed is %i n total divided by number of tries, right there. And I'm going to go ahead and comment out this line right there. So now if I run this, and let me go through what I added first. All right. I created a new variable called number of tries. That way we can just change that to do 100 tries to do 1,000 tries right there. So that's the number we're using for our simulation right there. So we're going to go through here, and I'm going to comment out this line here. I'm commenting out the lines where I are doing all the print statements saying which cup I bought. Okay, I just commented those out because we know that that worked. You know, when you're debugging your program, you want to put that in there to make sure it's working, but we know it's working because it's going to put too much stuff on the screen if I'm going to do this 100 times. However, each time I go through there, I'm going to print out how many cups it took to get Joe Hoare. So I'm going to see 100 of those lines pop up right there. At the end, I'm going to see the total number of cups that I bought over 100 at there. I think, did I set that to 10? Number of tries is 10. Okay. So I'm going to see 10 of those right there. And then I'm going to just average that out right there. Just divide the two to get the average right there. So if I run this, what it shows me here is that as I go through this list right here, the first time it took me 17 cups, the second time it took me 2, the third time 19. It shows me how many times it took me. This time it took me 42 tries before I got received Joe Hoare. I bought a lot of cups before I got to Joe Hoare. 18. This time I got it on the first time. I had to buy 168 cups before I got that there. Now, this is 16. It's round. I showed it as an integer simply because, you know, it's easier. It's actually off. I would have to add it to 0.5 to round it up right there. So, but this was close enough. So this is really how you do the second part right there. You know, this completes the second part. If I want to do it for 100 cups, all I do is change it to 100. Run it again. And this time, see, I'm down to it's 14. I can do this again, and I'm going to see that it's going to 12 right there. The number is going to be a little bit more consistent at this point right here. And then I can do it for 1,000. 11. 12. And you can see that that our number is getting pretty consistent right there. When we did it for 10, our number was all over the place. That time it was 10. This time it's 8. This time it's 12. 5 that particular time. Joe Zero is coming up a lot. And this random number generator isn't purely random, as we mentioned before. That's there. But you can see that the number varies right there. So that's how you would do the second part right there. It's fairly straightforward right there. Now for the hard part, the last one. The last one is a little bit different, and I'm going to cut out. Let me do a file save up there. Well, I don't need to save this. I don't need this. I'm going to get a bunch of working ones of this next week, right? Or in 2 weeks, right? A bunch of you are going to turn these in, and they're all going to work, right? So I don't need to save this up there. But this is what you would look at, because as you look at the assignment right here, right there, you're supposed to simulate how many cups it takes in order to get your one for your home state. You're at their pick a state. I picked Joe Hoare, run the simulation for 10. 100 and 1,000 times. I said 1,000, but I meant 100 right there. I mentioned that more than once but it's really the only difference is just change one number in the code the way that I wrote the code. Now the hard part is this last one, and I'm not going to do the whole thing for you obviously, but I'm going to kind of give you a few things that what you want to do. It's very similar to the last one. Very similar to the last one right there. I'm going to go through here and I'm going to comment. Let me go through here and delete a bunch of stuff here. Right here. Let's just go through and delete. Yeah, I don't know what to delete now is the problem. Right there. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to all right, what we're going to do here is this particular state here is we've got a variable here which we call done. Right there. Instead of comparing to the home state, what we're going to do here at this point here is I have an array right here called, and find my array right here, called cups collected is equal, and I initialize that to 0 right there. We have this array where we initialize everything to 0 right there. Every time we buy a cup, we want to put in there, we want to set that to a 1 right there. We want to set that to a 1 right there. Right there. And we want to clear out our states right there. Right there. So before we do this right here, the first thing we want to do is we want to clear the array because we're going to keep buying a state right here. State is equal to buy that there. And at that point, what we want to do is we want to set that right here. And actually, this is actually the code right here. Let me copy that. And let me replace this code here. Right there. Okay. What we do here, now follow me along here. This is right here. All right, what we're going to do here, and let me set this to 2, just so that, oh, I hit the wrong key. I want the backup key. Let's set this to 2 so we can see this go through twice. And let me go ahead and remove the print right there. So, okay. All right, let's go through what's going to happen here. Everything's the same. We've got our 13 state names that there. We've got this array called cups that there. And all this is a placeholder that keeps track of which cups we bought and haven't bought already. So when we come down to our main code, we're going to, and we're still using by meal. We've got 2 functions here that I wrote. One's called check cups. And all check cups does is go through that array and see if there's any zeros in it. If there's any zeros, we have not bought all of our cups. We're not done yet. And the other one is clear cups, and that clears the array, sets everything back to 0. Right there. And those 2 functions I wrote down here on the bottom. Clear cups, all it does is just set everything equal to 0. Right there. Right there. In check cups, all it does is goes through one element at a time. If that cup has not been purchased yet, it returns a 0. If we get through all 13 cups, and we haven't found any zeros, that means that we've bought all 13 cups. So we return a 1 at that point. So we've got those 2 functions written right there. So so we buy a cup right there. I is equal to 1. We buy a cup or buy a meal. This is what we got the first time. We set that 1 equal to 1 right there. And while check cups is equal to 0, this is going to call this function right here. And it's going to check to see whether or not that returns a 0 or a 1 right there. That calls that function. Right here, this is going to just repeat this. I may as well comment this one out. This one here is not needed right there. So you received a cup this time right there. Actually, the last cup, it won't show us that there. Let me move this to the end. No, okay. That's why it was at the top. That's all right. That's fine. We won't see the last cup that was purchased right there. We increment the number of cups. We buy it. We go out and get a new cup. We go out and buy a new. We buy a new meal. We increment it, and then we set that 1 equal to 1. And we just keep doing that until we bought all of our meals. It took how many times to get that there? And what I actually should probably do is do this outside the loop right there. Right there. So actually I did this twice. So let me run this and let's see what happens here. All right, this particular case, and it's got a funky thing here, Joe Hoare. I got an error here. There's an error right there. This is what I get for trying to write this in front of everyone. Right there. Oh, I know what I didn't do right here is I didn't clear out until you received all cups, all 13 right here, and we don't put right there. And I forgot to, at the end of this, right that's there, I need to also go through and clear cups right there. Right there. I need to clear the cups right there. Okay, let me go through this again. Hopefully I got it right this time. All right, between 0 and the number of tries, I'm only going to do 2 tries this time, right there. We set the number of cups that we set. You know, we're going to go ahead and buy the first cup. So we set I equal to 1. We buy a cup. We set that 1 in the array equal to 1. So in other words, we bought this cup until we bought all 13 cups. And how we know that we bought all 13 cups is we go through this array, you know, of 13 to see how many cups we make sure we bought them all. Until that is, as long as that is equal to 0, we're going to keep buying cups. We bought this cup. We increment the number of cups we bought. We buy another one. We set that element to the array. We just do that all the way through. When we're done buying cups, we bought all 13 cups. We're going to go through here and we're going to say we're going to clear the array so that we can do it the next time. We're going to say how many times it took us to get all 13 cups, right there, and we're going to increment our total. At the end, we're going to just simply print out the total and the average. Right there. And we got a problem here. Actually, the problem is that it's not a problem in the code, it's a problem in the I forgot to put I here. Right here. I forgot to put how many cups that I deleted the state name and then right there. So I forgot. So it took me on average 31 cups each time. First time it took me 29 tries to get all 13 cups. The second time it took me 33 tries. Right there. I run this again. It took me 28 tries to get each time I wanted 13 cups. And to run this 1,000 times, we need to take out our print right there. Let's go ahead and delete that print right there, because we don't want to see all 13 cups there. And let's just do it 10 times. Right there. The average is 36. Right there. Do it 100 times. The average is 37. Do it 1,000 times. The average is 36. I can do it 10,000 times, 100,000 times. It'd be faster if I didn't have all these print statements. It's going to have to print 10,000. The average is 37 out there. So you can see this is the way the project goes through right there. I can pull out this print statement right here. And you can see 10,000 is actually a lot quicker. See, 37 right there. So that is the first half of your final project. The other half I don't think I have to spend any time talking about right there. But this is my solution that I did. Now I expect yours to look something different at there, but this kind of goes through at there. Now that you see the solution, is it easier than you thought it was? Be honest. That there. No? It's about the same as you expected? I didn't think it was that difficult. And, you know, someone's 8 o'clock classes don't agree that there. 8 o'clock doesn't agree with you, does it? See, this is where I need the camera to kind of hold up there to show who's falling asleep. That there, that would keep people awake if the dean could go up and look at classes and see who's falling asleep. That there, I could take that into account as I'm grading the final. How many times someone dozed off, right there. So that is really the lecture I had planned, was going through and showing you what the solution should look like right there. Any questions on that there? I'm not going to post this file up, by the way. There, I'll post the video, but I'm not going to post the code, because if nothing else, I'm going to force you to at least type the code in right there. But again, let me just kind of go through. You need these 3 lines. This one is put up there by itself right there. These 2 you have to add right there. You really don't need the state's name other than the first part of the project. Part A, where I say buy 1 cup, you don't really need those state names. I just left it in there because I just kept adding to the code every time I did that there. The cups collect is only needed for the last part. That's that array to keep track of the cups. By meal is used for all 13 or all parts of the code, and that is used, and all that is a random number generator. It returns a random number between 0 and 12. Check cups, all it does is go through and check the array to see whether or not you've bought all 13 cups. And clear cups just clears the array. Home state is used just for the first part. You know, that there is how many, or the second part where you go through and figure out which state is you're going to use. Right here. This sets up all my variables right here. Again, states is equal to, there's 13 states, which I really don't even use that variable anywhere in there, actually. Or no, that's my array of 13, excuse me. Right there, but I declared it globally there, so I guess it doesn't need to be declared here. So it's not used there. K and I are used for my loops. Total is equal to 0. I have to initialize that at the beginning. But there, the desired state I said was 4. Actually, I set it home state is 0. I actually didn't use this. This was for when I was writing it for, in my office when I was writing it. I put it there. That their state is our current one we're buying. The number of tries, that's where we set it, whether we want to do 100 100 simulations or 10 simulations right there. And this goes through our loop right there, how many tries we want to do. We set I equal that, we buy a meal, we set that element to the array to 1, we go into a loop, we keep buying meals until we bought all 13 meals. Once we bought all 13 meals, we add that to our total and clear the array so we can go buy another 13, or buy another set of 13. And then at the end we print out our information right there. That's it. There's the function, buy meal. It's just a random number generator. I used the easiest one there was in that list there. There's like 3 or 4, some are more accurate or more random than others. This one right there. I should have one statement in here I forgot. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention this statement right here at the beginning. That one is to randomize the random number generator with the time. We pass it the time to generate. If you don't have this, you'll get the same answer every time. Right there. This just randomizes the random number generator. Right there. So we return a random, buy meal just returns a random number. Clear cups, all it does is set our cups equal to 0. It just goes through all 13, 0 to 12. It just sets it equal to 12, equal to 0, right there. Check cups, all it does is go through and check to see if any one of the 13 is equal to 0, then it returns a 0. Otherwise, if it goes all the way through this loop right here, it means that all 13 cups is a 1, which means you've bought all 13 cups. Right there. And that is the final project. As I said, it wasn't terribly hard, but right there. With that said, I probably have talked for less than an hour, but I covered everything